Attachments on your weapon are a huge factor in boosting your weapon's DPS. The right set of attachments can make or break a weapon. So today I'd like to go over what the best attachments are for your weapon based on the weapon type. First up are assault rifles and LMGs. They are almost identical in terms of desired stats. With assault rifles, you're going to be looking to increase crit chance, crit damage, magazine size, and stability, not necessarily in that order, but in general. LMGs are basically the same, but I'll cover any differences as we go through the attachments. So starting with scopes, crit hit chance is going to be the thing to look for. Accuracy is the second best thing here, with headshot damage and optimal range being less prioritized. Assault rifles don't really need more range. They already have pretty good range, same with LMGs, which probably have even better range, so don't worry about that too much. Magazine is going to be magazine size and crit damage or crit chance. Magazine size is probably one of the biggest factors in boosting your damage, because the more often you're shooting, the less you're not shooting, which sounds stupid coming out of my mouth as I'm saying it, but that doesn't make it any less true. Increased magazine size does not increase your reload times or anything like that. It's a net gain, and a big one at that. Crit chance and crit damage are also very, very good. You're going to see me rate rate of fire pretty low on the totem pole most of the time, but rate of fire is good for burst damage, it's just bad for sustained damage. Rate of fire feels much more like a PvP stat, where you launch off a magazine as fast as possible, then reload while on the move. In PvE, the situations in which faster rate of fire aren't as high, making it a slightly less valuable stat. For assault rifle underbarrel, you're going to want stability and accuracy. Assault rifles go all over the place with regards to recoil, so slimming that down as much as you can is a good idea. Accuracy keeps the spread a little bit tighter, so your shots actually land where you are aiming. Horizontal stability isn't terrible, but I like general stability a little bit more. You do not need hipfire accuracy. Firing from the hip isn't really a hugely great idea with an assault rifle, and you don't need initial bullet stability because your initial bullet recoil is not really that bad at all with an assault rifle. For LMG underbarrel, initial bullet stability was thought to be a solid bonus, but supposedly, initial stability is a bonus to your weapon's centering speed, making it good on Marksman Rifles that are semi-automatic, but not really LMGs, since you don't want to burst fire with an LMG because they get really stable the longer you fire them. So why do they call it initial bullet stability? I don't know, seems really confusing, and it's still a little ambiguous. So, since initial bullet stability is not that great of a bonus for LMG, you can probably roll with a similar option to assault rifles, stability and accuracy. Horizontal stability is near useless for LMGs. Finally, your muzzle should try to have crit damage or crit chance. I'm not sure if it's possible to roll crit damage and crit chance on a muzzle, much like I'm not sure if you can roll crit damage and crit chance on a magazine. Seems pretty unlikely, so try to at least get one or the other. Otherwise, stability or accuracy are both viable second choices. Do not worry about threat. It is cool that the game has threat built into its aggro system, but at the moment, it's not really much to worry about. SMGs are up next. You're going to be looking for crit chance here on your scope. Optimal range seems like it is very appealing, but SMGs are really built for close-up combat, not a distance. Headshot damage is also appealing since you'll be using SMGs in close range, and therefore are more likely to hit in the head because it's easier. So it's not a horrible choice if you cannot get crit chance. Magazine, once again, it is going to be magazine size and crit hit or damage. SMGs tend to have pretty small magazines, so boosting them only helps your sustained DPS. Ideally, magazine size and crit damage is what you'll have on your magazine, since SMGs gain a considerable chunk of critical hit for free. For the underbarrel, you're going to look for horizontal stability and otherwise stability or accuracy. SMGs don't have a lot of vertical recoil, but they do have a decent amount of side-to-side recoil, at least the Vector does, and the Vector is one of the, if not the best SMG in the game. Hipfire might not be awful, but once again, I'm not big on hipfire, and initial bullet stability is not needed at all. Finally, Muzzle is going to want crit damage and horizontal stability or otherwise crit hit or stability. Crit damage is huge for SMGs, and since it doesn't seem likely that you can roll both crit mods on a Muzzle, horizontal stability seems to be the next best thing. Marksman Rifles turn, starting with scopes, you're gonna look for headshot damage and accuracy. Headshot damage is a pretty obvious one here. You always want to snipe to the head as much as you can. Accuracy might not be as obvious. With regards to Marksman Rifles, accuracy will actually speed up the rate at which your crosshairs get together after aiming, so the faster you can get more precise shots, the better. Magazine, I don't think magazine size matters as much here because the intent of the Marksman Rifle isn't to fire as fast as possible, but rather to make very well placed shots. That being said, less downtime is always beneficial, and the other options don't really appear to be more appealing. Crit damage or crit chance is the way to go for the other bonus. We'll talk more about crit in a video coming soon if you're not sure which one to pick, crit damage or critical hit. Underbarrel, initial bullet stability is not a bad option, as snipers tend to kick sorta hard after a shot, and since snipers are not full auto, the stability should apply to every single shot, which is pretty nice. After that, accuracy to get your crosshairs to snap together faster. Stability is a decent third option, but don't bother with horizontal stability or hip fire. Muzzle, search for accuracy and some form of crit bonus. Even if you feel like you have enough accuracy, the other options aren't really that appealing, other options meaning stability or threat. Shotguns, you're going to be looking for optimal range and otherwise typical stats, crit damage, crit chance, etc. On the scope, optimal range and crit chance are pretty good. Headshot damage seems like it could be very good as well, since you're only going to be firing a shotgun from pretty close, where it is much easier to hit to the head, so that's not a bad option either. Pick crit or headshot damage depending on what you end up doing with said shotgun. If you go for the head a lot, then it might be more worth it than crit. As for magazine size, I'm pretty torn here since most stats seem appealing. Magazine size isn't as clear cut because an increase in magazine size does actually result in increased time spent reloading, so that's maybe not as great of an option. Crit damage and crit chance are always reliable as stats. However, reload speed might actually be one of the better stats here since reload speed is one of the shotgun's weaknesses. I'll be doing more shotgun tests as I continue to play the game and do more simulated theory crafting on my DPS, but I'm still working on that one. Underbarrel is the last thing on shotguns, and nothing here is really going to dramatically increase your damage output in a quantifiable way. Initial bullet stability seemed nice, but after testing, it doesn't really have an effect on shotgun shots. Hipfire isn't a complete garbage stat here, but it's not that amazing either, same with stability and the like. Accuracy might be the way to go as a primary stat, and then the rest is still pretty up for debate. Finally, we have the pistol, which has the muzzle and sometimes a magazine attachment. For the muzzle, look for crit-related bonuses, and for the magazine, the same, magazine size and crit. That about wraps up my suggestions for weapon mods and attachments. This is more of a general guide for modding your weapons. Each weapon tends to operate a little differently within its class, so if you're noticing that you might want a slightly different stat, it's probably worth testing out. But these suggestions, I think, are a pretty good starting point. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.